Hello, everybody. This is Patrick Motes, your host for today's Comcats episode of Say It With Your Chest, where we look to answer your buzzing topics around Augusta University. Today on the show, I am joined by the president, founder, leader, the entire show of FCA, and fellow comm major, Riley Triplett. Riley, thanks for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me, Patrick. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I know it's a busy time of year right now, coming off of racing and stuff, and then we have finals around the corner and you're graduating and stuff like that, which we'll get to later in the show, but I'm sure that you've got to be completely overwhelmed right now.
I am. There's so much going on, but I was honored to just get to come and chat with you about FCA. It's something I love to talk about, so I'm excited to see what you have going on here.
Yeah. So you came to Augusta University 2 years ago.
Correct. I was a transfer from Emmanuel College.
Mm-hmm. And you came here and you started up FCA, and for those that don't know, that's Fellowship of Christian Athletes. So how did that come about? Like, what made you want to do that?
Yeah, so I have been involved with FCA since I was in sixth grade. We had somebody come out to our cross-country practice one day and give us a bunch of popsicles and share the gospel with us. It was such a sweet experience because I didn't realize that you could integrate faith and sport, which are my two favorite things. And so I just kind of fell in love with volunteering with FCA and seeing what we could do on campus in relation to Jesus, but also like in the public school system was really cool because you use the avenue of sports and athletics. And so when I got into college at Emmanuel, they had FCA there. And that was the first place I went to find community and stay involved on campus and also like be with like-minded people who are athletes but are seeking to continue their walk with the Lord, even though they aren't in high school anymore, in their youth groups or whatever. You know, owning your own faith in college looks different than being at home with your family. Yeah. So when I transferred to Augusta, I did the same thing. I was looking for FCA to get involved because I didn't really know anybody yet and they didn't have it. And so I was like, oh, wow, well, that's unfortunate. And I didn't really think anything else of it. I just figured I'll be involved with my team and be involved with whatever church I get plugged into. But somebody, a staff lady from Emmanuel, got in touch with the staff people in the greater Augusta area and gave them my number. And so literally 2 weeks into moving here, Greg Wilson, the director of Greater Augusta FCA, called me up. Cold called me. I had no idea who he was. I picked up the phone and he was like, hey, Riley, Tracy Passmore, the lady from Emmanuel, gave me your number and I hear that you're an FCA girl. And so you're going to start FCA at Augusta University.
Oh, hello.
Yeah. And I was like, you're funny. That's funny. I literally just moved here. I don't know a soul. I gave him my whole explanation, essentially.
Well, I mean, you can't imagine how, stressed out you were and being thrown into a completely new environment.
Yes. So I just did not plan on that happening.
Right.
But as the Lord does, he softened my heart over the next few weeks and very quickly realized that, okay, well, maybe I transferred here to start this ministry. Maybe the Lord has a plan in that aspect, and he certainly did. And so by the time spring semester rolled around, we had built a team of 6 leaders, I believe. We've had some turnover just because of people graduating in the last 2 years, but built a team of leaders and started AUFCA in the spring of 2023. And have now been on campus for about 2 years. So
yeah, that's phenomenal. I remembered as you were saying that too when you came in. That was also right as Coach Ward had left to go to Maine, and I mean,
yes,
the people who were returning from whatever their tenure the year before was already stressed out. I can't imagine how much you come to a brand new school, brand new environment, new town, roommates and all, and then your coach leaves, and then somebody's like, yeah, you need to start the FCA.
Yes, it was the most chaotic period of my life.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I don't know how anybody would have handled that. I don't know how I would have handled that. I probably would have just been like, I really appreciate it, but I've got a lot on my plate right now.
And I tried to do that, which is what's funny. But I feel like with the way that the Lord works, if he has a plan, either you get on board or you miss out kind of thing. You know, he's going to accomplish his will. And if you get the opportunity to be invited into something like that, then you either get to say yes or you get to miss out. And so I'm so grateful for the leaders that joined me because it definitely was not the Riley Triplett show. It was a team effort with people serving from the baseball team, some guys from the cross country team. We had a volleyball player at one point. And so we just have had these people that have decided like, okay, I want to be on board with what the Lord is doing on Augusta University's campus for the student athletes. And so that's what happened there. And I think it was really cool because there's a lot of ministries on campus, which is awesome. But there wasn't anything for the student athletes because
that is kind of strange.
Yes, because all of the other ministries that they meet at times that athletes are at practice. So there isn't an opportunity to be involved if you're already involved in sports. And so we made sure to cater to the athlete schedule to make a way for people to be involved if they wanted to be. So
yeah, I kind of want to loop back really quick to that cold call that you got.
Absolutely.
Was there like a feeling that just came over you when you got a phone call that like, because you know when you just get a random phone call and you're like, I don't think I'm going to pick this up. But then you just have this funny feeling come over you. Like did that happen to you?
It definitely did. I remember, like I said, it was quite literally 2 weeks into me moving there. My room wasn't even completely unpacked. And I'm sitting on my little twin bed in the smallest apartment I think I've ever stepped foot inside. Because when you're a transfer, you just
kind of go wherever.
Coach gives you an opportunity of somewhere to move in, you just take it.
Yep.
And I looked at my phone and I was like, this is so interesting. But I mean, who knows? Like, I don't know anyone here yet. So it could be somebody involved with school or sports or something like that. So I don't know. I just picked it up and it worked out, I guess.
So then, you've got here, you settled in and you said that it was a whole group project. You had baseball, you had volleyball, you had cross country. What were the early days of FCA like and how did it grow to what it is today?
Yeah, it was bathed in prayer. We spent a lot of time as a team of leaders in a small group setting with just us praying about what the Lord could do on a larger scale. And particularly there was a verse that we prayed a lot. It's out of the book of Matthew and it talks about the harvest being plentiful, but the workers being few. And we knew that, there's hundreds of athletes on this campus that I'm sure are looking for ways to find fulfillment. And I know both you and I being athletes, recently retired over here.
Yeah, recently retired.
Yeah, but we know the feeling of like putting so much effort into a sport and looking for success and fulfillment. But running can't give you your value. Baseball can't give you your value. Volleyball can't give you your value because those things are going to end one day, but you're also going to fail on the regular. And you cannot be perfect in that. And so when athletes put their identity in something like sport, there's this constant availability to feel like a failure because we can't perform at perfection all the time, And so we prayed about all of these athletes who may have a relationship with the Lord, may not, being such a plentiful harvest, but there's not people pouring into them. There's not people bridging the gap. And so all of our we did weekly leader meetings where we were just planning and praying, before January of 2023 rolled around, just praying for like, Lord, would you be the only reason that we even get the opportunity to get in front of other student athletes like ourselves? Like we understand the need for relationship with you. But there are probably so many out there who don't and are looking to be fulfilled in their sport and it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like only Jesus can do that for you. And, we spoke a lot on, John 15 is a passage that talks about the Lord being the vine and us being the branches. And if you think about a tree, branches are only going to grow and bear fruit if they're attached to like something healthy. If you cut off a branch from its source, the trunk or the vine or whatever, it's going to die and you're not going to see any fruit being born from that branch. And so we would explain that to our student athletes to the effect of like, you are not going to feel whole or feel complete without Jesus. So like get connected, connected with people, get connected into the word, find a church. FCA isn't Jesus, but we can try our best to point you to him. So that long story short, that's just what it looked like for us preparing prayerfully. But there were also staff people with Greater Augusta, professors here on campus that wanted to see our goal accomplished as well. And
that's great.
They came behind us.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
So how did you promote it?
We did a lot of one-on-one outreach. Our team of leaders got together and decided, you know what, like if we want to get the word out, we're going to go straight to the source. And so before we did this both years before we kicked off, before we started our first meeting, like we're going to get to as many practices as coaches will let us get to, and hand out flyers and some kind of food or something if we had the funds, to make personal one-on-one invites to as many student athletes as we could get in front of.
Okay.
And it was really sweet to see the coaches that were so willing to let us interrupt one of their practices to invite them to an out of practice event. But we found very quickly that even if coaches weren't Christ followers, they want to see their athletes succeed and be healthy. And so if we could promote it to them as we're trying to care for your team, like we're trying to, benefit your season as a whole. Like if your athletes are healthy spiritually, like they're going to perform better because they're not going to feel so pressured, you know?
Like a safe, like I guess a safe way to just come and relax and like enjoy the camaraderie of other student athletes and just share like a common ground is what it sounds like to me.
Yes. And it is 100%. So that was really cool because we didn't get in front of every team just because that's difficult, but as many coaches who would let us, it was really cool to build relationships with the coaches and then through the coaching with the athletes. So
I'm sure that, you know, obviously you've kind of mentioned it here and there. Nothing is easy. So what were some of the struggles along the way and how did you manage those?
Yes. So we had a hard time with keeping, numbers, and it's so easy to get wrapped up in the number of how many people are coming and but like having to recognize that like numbers are not the goal, relationships are the goal. So like even if we only have 20 students on a Monday night, that's not a failure because those 20 students are spending time in the Word and they're growing in their walk with the Lord. We found that at the beginning of fall semester, it's really easy to keep people engaged in the fall semester, but by the time spring rolls around, finals are stacking up and graduation is around the corner and it's harder to keep engagement.
Okay.
And so just consistently reminding ourselves that like, even if people can't make it all the time in April or in March, that doesn't mean that the few that are there are not just as valuable. And I feel like as a team of leaders, we really had to drop back and just remember that the only thing the Lord is asking from us is our obedience to Him. And so like if we're being obedient to staying faithful in what we've been called to here, then the numbers aren't a factor.
Right.
You know?
Do you think that maybe as well, like with everybody having new classes every semester, do you think that kind of played a role into anything?
I think change always plays a role. And so when you have like for us, new coaching, or you have transfers coming in and just dynamics shifting and classes shifting, we're always having to adjust and evolve to what schedules look like. And so I do think that, yes, that does play a factor. But also what we have learned too is that the people that want to be there and want to grow will be there. And
absolutely.
If they want to grow, then they'll show up. And we have our consistent group. And I'm so grateful to like have gotten to pour into my huddle of girls consistently for the last 2 years, and just sit in a circle with them. And people may come and go, but I know that like the seeds that the Lord has planted through FCA will take root and bear fruit later or now or whenever. And it's not my job to get wrapped up in, well, how many girls do I have each week, or how many guys are involved with my guy leaders? Just being faithful to the few.
Okay. Well, that sounds like you have your hands completely full with that. I'm sitting here, I'm listening, I'm processing, like, oh my gosh, this really is a lot. Like, you know, props to you guys for actually doing this, you know, in your own time, in your own will, and, you know, because you care so much about, you know, what it means and the people around it and what actually FCA represents. So, as I briefly mentioned at the beginning of the show, you're a senior.
Yes.
You are graduating in what, like 10 days probably, or something like that?
I think 8 days.
8 days. Okay, so you have 8 days left as a current Jaguar before you're a retired Jaguar.
Yes.
what is next for FCA as you depart AU? And, how do you hope to leave it as you move on to the next journey in your life?
Yeah, that is something that I have probably been thinking about daily in the last month, just because we've already had our semester, like, in hoorah, whatever you want to call it. So FCA for this year has already completed. And so at that meeting, we did a worship night on Somerville's campus at the amphitheater. It was really fun. And
sweet.
We called it Pancakes and Praise.
Pancakes and Praise.
We served pancakes and we praised the Lord. So it was just really fun. But I pulled all of my leaders up on stage and just took the opportunity to give them the immense amount of credit that they deserve, because FCA would not have been possible without them. And I'm really fortunate to be able to trust that those that aren't graduating, because two of us are, myself and Kyle LaRoche, who is a senior on the baseball team, phenomenal guy. He has been by my side for FCA since I put it out there, like, hey, we're looking to start this thing. So major credits to Kyle. He's awesome. But we have a handful of guys and prayerfully some girls that have been involved with FCA that I am excited to see how they're going to step up to lead next year, but that we will be passing the baton to.
Yes.
And so at that meeting, Kyle and I had the opportunity to just like really encourage them in front of all of our students that were in attendance and say like, these guys have been here, like, you know them, you love them. They're taking the reins now. And so that was really special because Kyle and I have had the opportunity to like pour into them all year as they've been leading. And now we can really just take our hands off and say, like, we trust that the Lord is going to use them now. And also just because some of us are leaving doesn't mean that FCA isn't going to continue, because I'm fully convinced that like, if it is in the Lord's will for something to continue, like, I don't have to be there. Like, it is not me that makes something happen. Like, only the Lord gets to do that. And so Kyle and I are not stressed at all, because we know that like his will is going to be accomplished regardless of us being here or not. And I'm excited to get to come back and like maybe guest speak here and there or just hang out with the student athletes as a guest. Will be really exciting. But for myself, my next step, is that one of the questions you asked?
I was going to wrap up with, what's next for Riley in life? No, it's perfect. You're just a nice lead-in. That's perfect.
Okay, great. Well, for me next, I actually, it's so special to think about how life unfolds to put you exactly where you're supposed to be, because I never would have thought that, going to an FCA meeting in 6th grade would land me a job. And it technically that one instance didn't, but the process of I got involved and stayed involved has allowed me to have some doors open to accept a full-time position. And so while I was in college at Augusta, because of starting FCA on our campus, I was able to work in an internship role with Greater Augusta FCA that serves all of the high schools in our county and the surrounding counties. And because of that, I was their intern for a year and a half. Because of that, I met so many staff people all over the entire state of Georgia. Yes. And so in the summers, we do FCA camps. We're in St. Simons. We're in North Georgia. We're in the mountains. We're all over the place. And so through that, I met so many staff people who are looking to hire. And so I was able to accept a position in Jackson County, which is Jefferson, Georgia. It's about 30 minutes outside of Athens.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes. And great. It's much closer to home for me. So I'll be doing full-time ministry with Jackson Banks area FCA over in Jefferson, Georgia.
Okay, cool.
Yes, I'll be working with high school and middle schools over there. There's a school system, East Jackson Comprehensive, that has so many student athletes that are involved with FCA, but they don't have a staff person to like lead and pour into them. And so really blessed to have the opportunity to step in there and start doing, like, I've been on the college scene for the last 3 years, but like now getting to turn around and pour into the students like behind us that are going to be going off to college is just really exciting. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll be moving in July after working camps all of May and June. So I'm looking forward to it.
I know they have to be excited. I mean, you're young, you're energetic, you're clearly very passionate about it.
Thank you.
And, so I think that this is perfect. And, that way you can kind of help build their spiritual faith when they go into college, because as you had mentioned in the show, which I completely agree with, college is a time of great maturity and growth, and what you choose to do at that time will greatly dictate your future. And, going to church and going to FCA and staying close with the Lord is something that I truly believe as well that is really important, because nobody's going to get through life without him. And so I think that helping build that and I guess fortify that in high school will hopefully help them build good habits for the future and stuff like that too. So that is great. And I just want to say congratulations on an amazing collegiate career and starting FCA here. You definitely did something great for the university. I know that it'll continue on. But thank you for everything that you've done for the team, the track team, and FCA. And I know that everybody else is extremely grateful for you as well in the comm department.
Thank you, Patrick. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for listening today on your episode of Say It With Your Chest. Say It With Your Chest is produced by Patrick Motes and is edited by Kenzie McDaniel and Jack Costco. Say It With Your Chest is a part of the Comcats podcast network of Augusta University. The ideas and opinions expressed during this podcast are those of the students enrolled in Com 3340 podcasting and audio production and do not reflect those of Augusta University. Thank you for listening again. We hope you enjoyed our series for this semester. We're out.